Kawhi Leonard, 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Tonight, Celtics at Magic. Boston leads the series 2-0. The Pacers looking to go up 3-0 on the Bucks in Milwaukee. The Lakers and Timberwolves tied at 1-1 tonight's game in Minneapolis. NFL Draft first round, Cam Ward selected by Tennessee with the first overall pick. The quarterback out of Miami. The Jaguars traded up to number 2 and selected cornerback Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
It's Macy's Friends and Family Sale. Hurry in for insider deals on must-have spring styles from your favorite brands, like an extra 30% off new dresses, handbags, and accessories from Karl Lagerfeld Paris, Donna Karan New York, Avec La Vie, and more. Plus, get 15% off fragrances, beauty, and skincare, too. It's not only the best time to shop for yourself, it's also the best time to shop early for Mother's Day. Don't miss Friends and Family starting tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe? No-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m.? Big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas? The ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk. Real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
If you want to be an alpha, you've got to get the winning edge. It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory with the winning edge. You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is Football Full Circle on this Friday afternoon. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz sitting in for the next 60 minutes, 58 technically, right here on the grid, talking little NFL. Ah, yes, draft round number 1 in the books. We got round number 2 later on tonight, George. NFL draft, I tell you, had some surprises, had some things that were supposed to happen actually happen. And it wasn't necessarily who was drafted, but the main story is who was not drafted. We have some historically bad teams doing some good things, I thought. Winners and losers, who's left on the board that's worth mentioning. We'll get to it all. Eli versus Phillip Rivers, perhaps in New York part 2. So a lot to get to over the next 58 minutes. What's going on, George? How are you today?
I'm doing well. I guess I'm the Cowboy fan, all right? So a bit of a letdown of who they took there, but you sort of knew Jerry Jones was going to do that. He pretty much told you he was going to do that the day before when he went on his press conference and told you that's how they built their teams through the line. So very unimpressive there. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders not being drafted. That's all the news here. Why didn't he get drafted? Scotty, I kind of wonder if this is another Tim Tebow situation or like Tim Tebow where it's not so much the player, it's everything that he brings with him. And by that I mean mainly, even though Dion is still going to coach the Colorado Buffaloes there, I wonder if it's his father that's really causing him to drop his. Teams just don't want to take, they don't want to take all the baggage that comes with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. And I would say normally, George, it's the NFL. These teams put up with everything. They're not going to let a big mouth father, or maybe an attitude, the kid's a little cocky supposedly, stand in the way of drafting him, right? But, and we saw this, not that long ago in the NBA with the ball, with Lonzo Ball and his brother getting drafted. And as it turned out, the father, who was a big mouth before the draft, really has been invisible over the last couple of seasons. So, I don't know. It seems kind of weird. People are saying that he was entitled, in his interviews with all the teams. But again, it's the NFL. It's a quarterback. If it's a defensive tackle who comes across as like he's the greatest thing in the world, all right, maybe he put up some red flags. But if your quarterback thinks he's good, wouldn't you want that? It's really amazing. We'll break it all down, but I am a little surprised. If not being drafted number 1 or, in the first round even, then was the hype then all BS? Was he never really should have been considered as a first round draft choice if he falls? He passed some teams that really need quarterbacks. So I wonder what was wrong, the drafting of him or not drafting of him, or the pre-draft analysis that he should have been a first-round draft choice.
Yeah, something was very wrong, right? 32 teams passed up on him. Every team at one point had a first-round pick, and they all went, no. So you wonder what came up there. And as you said, there are teams that need quarterbacks. I don't want to say I was shocked, but I was certainly surprised when Pittsburgh at 21 didn't take him. I'm like, oh, wow, that would, because they don't have a second round pick. Pittsburgh does not have a second round pick tonight, so they're not getting Sanders. They're not getting Milrow either, for that matter. So a surprise here. Now, mainly with the Steelers, maybe the Steelers have they know they're going to have Aaron Rodgers eventually, or maybe they're going to get Kirk Cousins. Maybe one of those two. They know we're going to get that guy, so we don't want to take Sanders. But even if that's true, that only solves your quarterback situation for 1 year, maybe two. You're still going to need a quarterback. And I understand next year is a stronger quarterback draft. I get that. But the Steelers, you're always 9-8. You're not going to be in a position to get the quarterback next year either, because you're going to need a top 10 pick probably to get one. So I found it very strange that they didn't take a quarterback. But then again, hey, Scott, maybe and they do their analysis. No, we don't like him. We just don't. He's not, in my mind, and in our mind, he's not a franchise quarterback. Could be that as well. So they just took the best player available on their board.
Yeah, it is amazing. I hear people say suppose how next year's going to be a good year for quarterbacks. And listen, I don't follow the college football game as closely as we'll say Lisi, right, or even Ben, right? But I follow it though. And I don't know any great quarterbacks that are going to be playing this year that are be coming out. Everyone points to Arch Manning, but you know what? He does love college. He's got another year. He doesn't have to come out next season. So, and the way these guys are making gazillions of dollars in college. They're going to be making less money in the NFL their first few years by far than they will be able to make $5-10 million in college. So I don't know where this great quarterback class from next year is going to be coming from. I think it's more a knock of this year. I think it's more like this year the quarterback class stinks, so it's got to be better next year, right? Maybe not. What great quarterbacks did we see last season in college that we said, boy, I wish he was coming out this year, and he's not. I can't think of any, to tell you the truth. So all the better quarterbacks on the better teams, all came out. So I don't know what Pittsburgh is doing. They, back to sort of Sanders, right? I mean, and even Jackson Dart, he was on the board for Pittsburgh as well, Ben. Remember, Giants got him at 25. Pittsburgh's drafting 21. I mean, even if they know, like you said, that, okay, you know what, Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with us, or we're going to sign for Kirk Cousins. Either one, as you pointed out, is a 1 or 2 year thing. The beauty, in which I'll get into here, knocking Houston, the beauty about drafting a quarterback, or anyone for that matter, in the first round is you have a 5-year commitment with that guy, because you could pick up his 5th-year option. You don't have that in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. You only have 4 years. And that extra year, you sit him on the bench behind Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, and maybe he's got to sit another year, but you still got 3 more years of him. I mean, he must have really, there's got to be more to this than just he's got a bad attitude. It's got to be like he just isn't that good, and it's just Deion's kid, and we all thought he was going to be great. I mean, he looked pretty good to me in college. I liked him, but there's got to be something more than just his attitude.
Oh, agreed. So there has to be something else there. Like I said, even I brought up a Deion thing earlier. I can see that being a part of it, but I can't see that being a major part, because you already said it. You're a quarterback. You can't win in this league without one. And for what teams have put up with a quarterback, just think of Aaron Rodgers alone and everything, all the baggage he brings. Well, right, he'll get a job if he wants one, because teams need a quarterback. So there must be something else. Maybe Cleveland's just playing chess and we're all playing checkers, and they knew they'd get him in the 2nd round, and they didn't care about losing the extra year. All right, they weren't worried about that because they know he'll develop quicker anyway. And we still got a great player in the 1st round, we got a great player in the 2nd round, and we'll build from there. Cleveland does have the 1st pick tonight, right? They have 33. I think they have 36 as well, right? They'll have Jacksonville's pick as well. So they got 2 of the top 4 or 5 picks there in the 2nd round. So it'll be interesting. But I'll tell you, if we get past Cleveland's 2nd pick in the 2nd round, what is that, 36, and Sanders is still not gone, and now Cleveland would have passed on him 3 times, and they don't have a quarterback. Scott, you want to play quarterback? Go to Cleveland. Who's their starting quarterback right now? Is it Kenny Pickett or something like that? They don't have a quarterback. If they pass on him 2 more times, then this is the JFK assassination all over again. What the hell is going? It's a conspiracy. What's going on here? So I'm curious. But like I said, maybe they're playing chess and they end up grabbing him at 33.
When's the last time we said the Browns were playing chess and everyone else was playing checkers, though, right? I mean, realistically, it's usually the other way around. You look at the top 5 picks in the 2nd round tonight. Browns go first, then the Texans, who don't obviously need a quarterback, Patriots, who don't need that's Tennessee. Don't need a quarterback, obviously, because they can't award. Browns again, and then maybe the Raiders, and then the Patriots, and then the Bears. Then you got to go down to the Saints at number 8. I was going to say the same thing you said, George. If he gets past the Browns twice, and then even the Patriots will say at 8, and no one moves up, then man, this poor kid would just, he was, taken for granted or something. I mean, someone sold him a bill of goods about being a number 1 pick, a first-round pick, rather. It's just like he's. I don't know who else would then take him. Giants got their guy. You said it. Pittsburgh doesn't have a second-round pick. So who else after the Saints at 8 really needs a quarterback? Rams
14.
Yeah,
I mean,
I suppose.
Could the Dolphins do it at 16? A backup sort of backup plan for Tua? Probably not. But
Arizona. I
mean, they're not thrilled at Kyler Murray, but I don't see that happening either here. I think what's an end. The Saints at 8. Even if Cleveland takes Sanders, by the way, who goes for Milroe? The Saints need a quarterback. They trade up for Milroe to try and get Cleveland's second pick.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back. A lot to get to. Football full circle here on the Grid.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin. He just gives that 5. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The National Weather Service will resume translating its products for non-English speakers. The Weather Service paused the translations this month because its contract with the provider had lapsed. Experts say the change could put non-English speakers at risk of missing potentially life-saving warnings about extreme weather. Whooping cough cases are rising, and doctors are bracing for yet another tough year. There have been 8,485 cases reported in 2025, according to preliminary data from the CDC. That's twice as many cases as this time last year. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage in the U.S. eased this week, though it remains close to its highest level in more than 2 months. The rate fell to 6.81% from 6.83% last week, according to mortgage buyer Freddie Mac Thursday. A year ago, the rate averaged 7.17%. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something?
Boat wins!
Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing?
Boat wins!
Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing?
Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
There's something you should know and always remember. SportsGrid does not increase luck. We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck, go find a horseshoe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott and George talking NFL Draft Round 1 yesterday, Round 2 today, and then 3 through 7 on Saturdays. They make this a 3-day extravaganza. Of course, one day's not enough. Although I will say, George, seeing all those people last night at Lambeau Field or outside Lambeau Field, it is crazy. It's like, as I'm watching how many people, they were saying a couple 100,000. I don't know if it was that many, but we'll just say, okay, a couple 100,000. I mean, most of them are sitting or standing really so far back. I mean, what are you doing there? I'm sure, like, we turn on our TV sets at 7 o'clock, and we have our little hour pregame, but those people have been there for hours already. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, and for what? To see one draft of your team, of a player you don't even know? I mean, like, I don't understand the fascination of wanting to be at this draft, but I'll tell you what, everywhere it's been, it has been jam-packed, and same thing last night in Green Bay.
Well, Scott, there's not a lot to do in Green Bay on a Thursday night. It
That's
just may
true.
be that simple here. But and that's what people being huddled together, by the way. It's not warm in Green Bay. You need to go just to keep warm. You need to be huddled together. Listen, bottom line is I'm not doing that. That's nuts in my mind. All right, I would never ever do that. You said just to hear Matthew Golden name to pronounce what the Green Bay picked around 11 o'clock, I think. So you sat there for 6, 7, 8 hours just to hear what your name picked. Hey, they got the receiver, right? They never got the receiver. They finally did. So I guess they got what they wanted. But no, I would never do that.
Yeah. All right, so 17 offensive players, 15 on defense. It's amazing. All the players, they all say the same thing. They're all so happy, George. Oh, I'm going to fight and die for my football team. It's such an honor being drafted by this team. Let's go. I'm willing to do anything, right? These same players 3 years from now are going to be threatening holdouts because they want more money. It is nice to see the beauty of being drafted now, but just like, all right, a couple of years from now, you'll be bitching and complaining about how you don't make enough money and you want a new contract and everything else. So, and by the way, Sanders, if you really think about it, he was passed over, obviously, by Tennessee, who could have taken him. He was passed over by Cleveland at 2 that could have taken him. They trade out, and then they had, the 5th overall pick, and they could have taken him then. So Cleveland really passed on him twice. The Giants really passed on him twice since they moved back into the first round to go take Jackson Dart. Las Vegas, with Tom Brady being his best buddy, passed on him. And then you have, the Worlds in Pittsburgh. So Tennessee 1, Cleveland 3, Giants 5, Las Vegas 6, New Orleans 7, Pittsburgh 8. 8 opportunities to be taken by teams that need quarterbacks, and he wasn't taken. So it might take a team like Miami, Arizona, Rams, a team that theoretically has their quarterback set, but you know what? Might take a flyer on a kid like Sanders in the second round.
I think he's going to Cleveland one of these picks. I just do. Or maybe New Orleans trades up to get in the lower second round to get him. I would be surprised if he goes to a team that just, all right, BPA, he's just too good. We can't leave him there. We have a good quarterback. We got to take him. There will be teams like that take BPA. And there's nothing wrong with drafting another quarterback. Hey, if you develop them, you can trade them at some point in the future, 2 years down the line. You might get better in a second round pick. So, like I said, if he gets by Cleveland at 36 and no one's traded up, if Milroe goes before him, it's like, what is going on? Really, what is going on? This is a guy who at one point, I understand draft rankings change all the time. But at one time, was Sanders, then Ward. I understand Ward can go past him, but to drop this far, we really haven't seen this. I know Aaron Rodgers, it always comes back to Aaron Rodgers. I know he dropped, he fell in the draft, right? He went to 31, 32 to to Green Bay that year. So he did drop as well. So we have seen something like it happen, but in my mind, not to this degree. So like I said, I truly believe Cleveland, once again, they could gamble. Maybe there's a top player. Maybe they like Green. Right, they want Green. He's available at 33. He should have been drafted already, but he's there. We're going to Green at 33. And they'll gamble that Sanders is there at 36. Or maybe they think Sanders and Milroe are the same, and they'll take either one at 36. It could be that as well. But like I said, if he falls past that and no one's traded up, you're going to start to really wonder what the hell is going on here.
Yeah. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that, okay, I'll take a guy in the second round, lose a year of getting him, and just ask San Francisco, would they like another year, right now with Brock Purdy? Absolutely, right? Rather than have them renegotiate now. So I'm not going to take him in the first round, but I'll take him in the second round. You either like the guy or you don't. We're not talking about defense, offensive linemen, where to me, at the time, a dozen. You're talking about the quarterback position. Oh, I love the quarterback enough to take him in the second round, but not in the first round. It seems kind of weird. We'll start at the top. Tennessee takes, Cam Ward. I've been saying for months that Cam Ward was the best quarterback, so pat myself on the back here. As it turns out, there was not much debate when everything was said and done. I like what they did. I like the fact they didn't, trade out of that position. I don't know. There was a report last night, George, that the Giants supposedly offered a second number 1, which really isn't offering that much. They made it seem like, the Giants actually offered another draft, another first-round pick. Of course they would have. I mean, I would have given up 4 or 5. I would have been an RG3 trade. I would have said to Tennessee, whatever it takes. Tell me realistically, 3 number ones, 4 number ones. I think he's head and shoulders above everyone quarterback-wise in the NFL. But so I credit Tennessee for not, making a trade and actually drafting Cam Ward.
I think when it comes to Cam Ward, he was the best quarterback in this draft, or is the best quarterback in this draft. So they got the best quarterback. Do I think he's going to be an absolute franchise quarterback? Have my doubts. About that. He certainly wasn't the best player in the draft. All right, that's Travis Hunter. But once again, NFL, need a quarterback. They ain't got one. Will Levis isn't the answer. He's a great meme for all the weird stuff he does on the football field, but he's not the answer at quarterback there. So you're not in this position very often. We get the best quarterback in the class here. But like I said, if you're asking me, do I think he's going to be a future All-Pro, Hall of Famer? No, I don't think either one of those. I think he'll have some good years, he'll have some bad years. They also need to get help around him. All right, I mean, they've got some issues there in Tennessee as far as skill position talent, so they're still building up around him here. Right. So bottom line is this: I think they made the right choice. You need a quarterback here, but I don't think he's this great quarterback. He's just the best quarterback in this class.
Not a bad career jump. 3 years ago, the guy was playing football for Incarnate Word. I mean, think about that for a second. Then Washington State, and then Miami with the Hurricanes last year. Incarnate Word was your number 1 pick just a few years ago. Amazing. All right, football full circle. Lots more to get to when we return.
There's smart and there's not smart. Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Keep it here and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1876, the Chicago Cubs played their first NL game, beating Louisville 4-0. The Cubs have won 17 NL championships and 3 World Series. Unfortunately for the Northsiders, poor play,
ground ball hit the dirt right through his leg,
and a little bit of bad luck have hampered the franchise. The Cubs went 108 years between titles. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
A new jet lag study of 60,000 trips by normal travelers finds getting up early to catch our flight.
Sorry, you're already late.
Makes jet lag worse. To beat the 2-day average recovery time, try at breakfast exposing yourself to bright sunlight while pounding hot coffee. Or right after you land, have a big night out. And finally, a rather bizarre Cornell University study has found shining bright light on the back of your kneecaps for 3 hours stimulates previously unknown circadian photoreceptors until you fall asleep. Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Pistons won a game. They dominated. They kicked their ass. This was not because of the refs. But is there anything worse than a guy complaining about calls that's getting all of the effing calls? And it's the same thing as me talking about the whiny crybaby bitch. When Luka gets every single call in a game and he's still complaining when he's going to the free throw line on an and one, he gets a call, he's still complaining.
It's Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On the home of the winning edge, the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down. To coin a phrase. When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the grid. Scott and George breaking down round 1 NFL draft last night. We'll preview some of the picks for later on today, but just going to go over things. So we talked to Shedeur Sanders. We got Cam Ward. Jacksonville moves up. They make the big splash of the day and the big surprise. They trade with the Cleveland Browns, which we'll get to here in a second. I like the move, and I don't like the move, George. I like the move in that I don't mind a team, but they really have one guy in mind that they're willing to pay the price, which cost them a first-round pick next year, of go and get the guy that they really, really like. But Travis Hunter, to me, reminds me, believe it or not, of Trevor Lawrence. It's like that's a weird comparison. if you remember Trevor Lawrence, when he was coming out of college and really even going into college, oh my God, George, the people who were evaluating him were saying he's the greatest quarterback prospect I've ever seen. He can make every throw. He's this, he's that. He's the greatest. No, been surefire, no miss, and blah, 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 blah. Every accolade in the world. I mean, it was like Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas, Dan Marino, and Tom Brady rolled into one. That was going to be Trevor Lawrence. And as we turned out, listen, he's a good quarterback, but, I don't see any Super Bowl rings on his fingers, and I don't know if they're going to be coming anytime soon. So I say that because that's what they're saying about this Travis Hunter kid. I watch Colorado games. Okay, he's pretty good, but all this talk about playing offense and defense, you can't do that in the NFL. You just can't. You can't practice on offense and defense. The practices are so limited nowadays. You got about an hour and a half to practice, literally, and that's it. You got to practice offense. You got to practice defense. So they're making him up to be the greatest. I've read reports. He's got the greatest instincts I've ever seen. He can do this, he can do that. Enough already with Travis Hunter. Please get in the NFL and perform. So I don't like him because I think that's a headache because the kid may want to play offense and defense and he's not going to be able to, and that may lead to trouble. So, but I applaud them for at least going to get the guy that they really, really like.
I think this is right now a good trade for both sides. Cleveland gets a host of extra draft picks, which they needed. All right. And Jacksonville, they got the best player in the draft. Now, are they going to be able to use him properly? No idea. Because you're right. He's not playing 130, 140 snaps. That's not happening. Do I think he's going to play both? Yes. You don't make this move unless you plan on him playing both. You want him to be a cornerback and a wide receiver. You want to kill two positions with one player. You do want that. But as you said, with the limited practices, he has to be in the receiving practice. He has to be there. He has to know the game plan. He has to know who he's up against, what the routes they're going to run. He has to be there. Plus, he needs the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, so he has to be there. Now, if he were to develop as a cornerback into Deion Sanders, which literally, all right, you're covering him, bye. Then you can work this and you worry about everybody else. You're just following him. All right, Justin Jefferson, go follow him. Wherever he goes, you go. If he's going to be that kind of player who can cover anywhere, I'm talking slot, outside, backfield, wherever JJ or someone like him winds up, okay. Then maybe he doesn't need to be in that defensive room as much here. But my guess is, Scott, he'll be a full-time receiver because you need to be in those meetings. You have no choice. And he'll play crucial series on defense. Maybe the first series of the game, a 2-minute drill, fourth quarter. That's when he'll see more time on defense in crucial time. He's going to need some rest. I see him playing, if I was going to make a bet on how many snaps, probably under 100 each game.
Yeah, I would think so as well. And I have the issue of the kid may want to play offense then. First of all, he wants to play both, and maybe that'll settle in. Okay, what if he wants to play offense and you want him to play defense or vice versa? Now you got another problem. He needed to be drafted, and I say the same thing about Sanders. They need to be drafted by a team that's got a good structure, good foundation, great head coach, history on their side. So he's not going to go in there and think, okay, I can run the show, right, and do whatever I want, which is why I don't mind Cleveland dropping out of them because the Browns aren't in that category, right? He needed to be drafted by a Pittsburgh or Rams with whatever the head coach or, a stable situation. This way he doesn't know or think he can go in and run the show. I don't know if Jacksonville fits that bill, to tell you the truth. So that it's got some issues. Giants. I like what they did. I don't like the direction they went in. I was taking, Shedeur Sanders at number 3. They don't do that. They take Abdul Carter from Penn State. Am I the only one that thinks he's a little small? But I guess you could bulk up. Then they move back into the drafts and take Jackson Dart, and that's where the Eli versus Phillip Rivers situation comes in. Eli basically saying doesn't want to take it by the Chargers, and they trade him for Phillip Rivers, basically in essence. And those two careers kind of coincided and compared against each other, with obviously Eli panning out. I wonder if Dart versus versus Sanders is going to turn out to be the same thing, depending on where Sanders goes, because they could have had Shedeur Sanders. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Football Full Circle.
The winning edge. You've got it. But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us. But we're working on that. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. NFL Draft first round, Cam Ward selected by Tennessee with the first overall pick. The quarterback out of Miami. The Jaguars traded up to number 2 and selected cornerback Travis Hunter out of Colorado. NBA playoffs Thursday, the Knicks beat the Pistons 118-116 in Detroit to take a 2-1 series lead. Jalen Brunson with 30 points in the win. The Thunder up 3-0 on the Grizzlies after a 114-108 victory in Memphis. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 31 points. The Clippers blew out the Nuggets 117-83. LA up 2-1 in the series. Kawhi Leonard, 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Tonight, Celtics at Magic. Boston leads the series 2-0. The Pacers looking to go up 3-0 on the Bucks in Milwaukee. The Lakers and Timberwolves tied at 1-1 tonight's game in Minneapolis. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Shop Kohl's Epic Deals today and save big on spring styles you love. Find epic deals like tees and tanks starting at $6.99, pillows or cozy towels for $2.99, stylish sandals starting at $12.99, and so much more. Plus, you can earn Kohl's Cash too. Spring is in the air, and so are the savings when you shop at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer valid through April 27th. Exclusions apply. See store at Kohl's.com for details.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist, because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
You're listening to SportsGrid, spreading the winning edge far and wide. Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere. Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the grid. Scott and George for the next half hour or so, checking out the NFL draft. So, talking New York Giants. So, the Giants, I tell you, it's not a bad move. They gave up 2 third-round picks, and I get that. That's, okay. It's not chump change, not 6th or 7th rounders, but, you move up 8 spots. Doesn't seem like a lot when you say 8 spots, but, maybe they would have been other teams that would have moved up and grabbed the guy that you wanted. So I applaud the Giants for, again, getting the guy that they want. If it took 2 third-rounders, no big deal. We'll talk to the Houston angle here in a second as far as them dropping out. But I like them moving up. I would have taken Sanders, not Jackson Dart, but, we'll find out. That's why I brought up the comparison, with Eli being drafted by the Chargers, didn't want to go there. Demands the trade. They trade him for Phillip Rivers. And in essence, it was an Eli versus Phillip Rivers career comparison. And it might be the same thing, with Dart and Shedeur Sanders, George.
I can go several different directions with the Giants. At the end, I think they're a winner in this draft. Okay, I like what they've done. They were never taking a quarterback at 3. They can't. This is where I have problems with ownership here. If you're going to keep Dable and you're going to keep Shen, then you need to give them a contract extension. They need to know they're going to be there years down the line. Because you're giving them 1 year. That's it. You got 1 year this year. Well, then you can't take a quarterback at 3. All right, you can't do it because that quarterback's not going to help you win this year. You need to win now to save your job. That's why I always thought Abdul Carter was going there. I mean, they would have taken Travis Hunter if he fell to 3, but he wasn't going to do that. So it was always going to be Abdul Carter. And I do like the idea of trading back in. Dart, Sanders. I think we all thought it was going to be Sanders. Remember was it November where he happens to be in New York City and Malik Neighbors and they're throwing ball on the street there. And so we all thought it would be Sanders. It wasn't. I guess they're evaluating and said Dart's a better quarterback. We'll find out how right that is, somewhere down the line here. So I like what the Giants did, but like I said, curious, because if they only win 5 games this year, well, now you have another regime coming in. Does that regime like Dart? Would that regime have taken Sanders? This is what I mean. It's the problem here. If you're not going to give these guys an extension, then you should have let the new regime make this choice. Dart, Sanders, Milrow, whoever. Shaw, they should have made this choice, not Dable and Shen. So I think Mara screwed this up. Maybe it works out. Maybe they win 9-10 games this year. Don't see that, but maybe they do. And they save their job, and Dart is a franchise quarterback. And, hey, everything works out great for the Giants. That being said, though, in summary, yeah, I think they're one of the winners of the draft. They get their possible quarterback of the future. And in my mind, the second best player in the draft in Abdul Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, from the Houston side of things, I don't get this at all. I really don't. Now, you could say, all right, we're only moving down 9 slots, right? You're going from 25 to 34, and we're picking up 2 third-round draft choices, one this year, one next year. All right, why not? To me, it's kind of like the NBA in a 5, 6, 7 player trade. Who ends up winning the trade? Whoever got the best player, ultimately. That's really what it boils down to. And in the NFL, when it comes to these draft day trades, to me, more times than not, it's whoever gets the highest draft pick is the winner of the trade. You're moving down, and more importantly, as we talked about before, you're moving out of the first round. Whoever you draft with that extra third round pick, you're not going to have that guy for 5 years. So you're giving up a chance to get a much better player, and you don't have him for 5 years. You only have him for 4 years, which is a big thing in the NFL. You want to hold on to these guys as long as possible before they hit free agency if they're a good football player. So moving out of the first round to pick up a third-round pick this year, who cares? And a third-round pick next year, who cares? If the Giants are any good, I mean, that could almost be like a fourth-round pick. I mean, if you're the Texans and you're a win-now team and you're trying to add on, there are a bunch of wide receivers they could have taken at slot number 25. I didn't like that move at all from Houston's standpoint.
I don't mind it. I don't love it. I don't. Maybe I don't even like it, but I don't mind it. It's one of those things. If you want to take more lottery picks, I think a part of this, the problem was most teams seem to have maybe 12 to 15 first round grades. That's it. And I think the Houston's thinking, everybody else here from pick 15 to, I don't know, 40, they're all the same. So you know what? We'll get some extra capital here. Like I said, we'll get some extra lottery tickets, which is really all a draft is, by the way, especially as we move on. Right. They're lottery tickets. And now you got more chance to hit on something. Now, I think if I was Houston, because like I just said, they didn't get a huge haul here. You got a huge haul, it's different. I probably would have taken one of the wide receivers. I would have. I don't think I would have done this trade here, but I don't mind them doing it either. Like I said, maybe you didn't want to pay for slot. It's too much money for a player we don't love here. This is nobody we like. We want whatever. I can see the reasoning behind it here. I don't think I would have done it. I would have taken one of the wide receivers. But hey, if I was Houston, I might have moved up, by the way, to try and get Goulden ahead of Green Bay. That's what I might have done here. I was also surprised, don't you need offensive line help? I mean, you did trade Gunsel. You got to, Stroud did not have a good year last year. Was the offensive line? Was all the receivers being hurt? Diggs got hurt. Everybody got hurt there. Or, don't you need to protect this guy? This is Scott. Maybe they think there's good offensive linemen as we go on in the draft. And now they'll get a couple of later. That could be that too. Bottom line is, I'm sort of in your camp here. Didn't love this move. Didn't hate it. But I didn't love this move by Houston.
Same scenario for me for Arizona. Listen, it's not so much the players. I mean, who knows if these players are going to be any good, right? To me, when you analyze this stuff, it's like, what do I think Arizona needed in this case versus what they did, right? So they used the first-round pick, number 16 overall, out of defensive tackle out of Mississippi. Maybe the greatest defensive tackle in the history of mankind. Who knows, right? But they could have had Matthew Golden, who I really like, the wide receiver out of Texas. You pair him up now with Marvin Harrison Jr., then you throw in tight end Trey McBride and James Connors in the backfield, George. Now you have yourself an offense. Now it's up really, if it wasn't before, it's really now up to Kyler Murray to stand up and be a real NFL quarterback. That's what I would have done. Here's my offense. I'm in a division. Rams are pretty good. Obviously San Fran's pretty good. I don't know what we're going to get out of Seattle, but put myself on the map and have one of potentially the best, offenses in the NFC, if not the NFL, if these guys all live up to their hype. That's what I would have done versus a big fat defensive tackle that odds is going to get about 15 to 20 tackles a year, because that's all defensive tackles get. They're just there to make space, allow the edge rushers, get a double team on him, allow the edge rushers to, to get the sacks. So I would have done that versus gone DT.
Arizona did need help on defense. Maybe I don't go this direction as far as a DT, but they did need help on defense. So once again, I don't mind this. I also think this, because I thought they might go wide receiver as well, and Goulden would have been the guy. Boy, Kyler Murray did not have any kind of chemistry with Harrison last year. Right? He did not make Harrison better, or Harrison didn't make Kyler Murray better. So I wonder if that also played into this. Well, we didn't get anywhere with Murray and Harrison. We want to go down this road again. I wonder if Murray's just not easy to work with. I don't want. I feel bad.
Before.
And I don't want to say it again, but, they did have that clause in the contract. He didn't study hard. It makes you wonder if that's the problem here. So if he's not going to put in that kind of work, we're not going to give him that kind of weapon. It's pointless. We might as well go on defense here. And they did need more help on defense than offense. I truly believe that here. I think Gold's a better player. Listen, I don't know much about the DTE either. He is what he is. But I do wonder if they just felt like, you know what? For our team, for what we have here, we're not going to spend a first-round pick on the playmaker. We did it last year. It didn't work out for us. We're going the other side of the ball.
Everyone's going gaga over the Atlanta Falcons. All right, they get two edge rushers. Their defense stinks. So I get that. But, boy, I tell you what, this James Pierce Jr. kid out of Tennessee, he better be something special. I'm not giving up a number one pick. Jacksonville did it with Travis Hunter. You can debate about that. But at least, he's got the attention. James Pierce Jr., boy, he better be really, really good. Both these guys pretty small from what I've been reading, compared to NFL size. But, okay, you can, get in the weight room, I suppose. But, again, I got to get a lot to make sure. He better be good to give up a number one draft choice like they did.
Jalen Walker fell into their lap at 15. He should have been a top 10 pick. And when he went to Atlanta, like, wow, what a, good for Atlanta. They get the guy they want here. Giving up a number one and other stuff for Pierce, you said it. He's got to be a borderline Hall of Famer, borderline All-Pro every year to make that pay off. I would not have done that if I was Atlanta. When they made the trade, I'm like, okay, who are they going for? Really? Another rusher? Found that odd.
Yeah. More winners and losers from yesterday right here. Football Full Circle on the Grid.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage in the U.S. eased this week, though it remains close to its highest level in more than 2 months. The rate fell to 6.81% from 6.83% last week, according to mortgage buyer Freddie Mac Thursday. A year ago, the rate averaged 7.17%. The National Weather Service will resume translating its products for non-English speakers. The Weather Service paused the translations this month because its contract with the provider had lapsed. Experts say the change could put non-English speakers at risk of missing potentially life-saving warnings about extreme weather. Whooping cough cases are rising, and doctors are bracing for yet another tough year. There have been 8,485 cases reported in 2025, according to preliminary data from the CDC. That's twice as many cases as this time last year. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
What up, fellow Gen Xers? Elizabeth Banks here. As the original Latchkey kids, we took things into our own hands, like house keys and video game controllers. And now it's time for us to do it again, because the recommended age to get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. We're at over 6 times greater risk compared to adults under 50. So go to vaxassist.com and schedule. Gen X, this is our shot. Sponsored by Pfizer.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to handle the busy holiday season, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott and George until another 15, 20 minutes or so, breaking down the NFL draft from last night and touch on a couple of names that should be announced later on tonight. Going over some of the winners and losers. I'll give you another loser, George. I didn't like what they did. That was the LA Rams. Kind of in the same boat as the Houston Texans. I mean, you're a win-now team, right? I mean, you bring in Devontae Adams. You bring back Matthew Stafford. You're telling the world you're trying to win. You're not going to draft a quarterback. You get that, but there's still a whole lot of needs that the Rams have, right? A winnable division, obviously. Took Philadelphia, really. They gave the Eagles in the postseason last year the biggest test. So what do they do with their first-round pick? They trade out to the above-mentioned Atlanta Falcons that we were talking about there for James Pierce Jr. And that they give the number, their first-round pick, which is 26th overall, and the third-rounder. And in return, they get a first-rounder for next year, which who knows how good or bad that'll be, a second-round pick. But remember, you gave up a third and a seventh-round pick. So you're swapping first-round picks, even, not getting anything out of that. And you gave up a third. All right, you get a second. So that's going to help a little bit in your favor. And you pick up a meaningless seventh-round pick. I mean, you moved out of the first round for what? A seventh-round pick, basically? And you're the Rams. You're trying to win now. I thought that was dumb. They do have six, day 3 selections now, but who day 3, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth round, who cares? I didn't like that at all.
I wasn't a fan either. Mainly for the reasons you mentioned here, because no matter which chart you're going to break down, if you use the Jimmy Johnson chart, if you use the regular chart here, it'll probably work out about even. The point system work out about even, but generally future picks are not worth as much as picks today or tomorrow. By the way, I think tonight is the second and third round, right? 4, 5, 6, 7 is tomorrow. I think we get 2 rounds today. But generally, future picks are not worth. Like next year's number 1 is not the same as this year's number 1. Because one is a pick now, it's in the future. So that also hurts the Rams' value here. That being said, the Rams, God, hey, they hadn't had a first-round pick forever, right? This year they were going to, maybe they still believe in them. They don't care. They've won without them. Yeah. Right? Maybe it's just chess pieces. Suppose they think the Falcons are going to fall apart. I kind of don't. I mean, the Rams picked 26, so you trade that pick. Where are the Falcons? I mean, they could win that division, I suppose. Decent team. So maybe in the low 20s, you could gain a couple of picks there. Maybe they think next year's a stronger draft. Better player at that point. So I guess there are reasons they did this, but bottom line is I'm with you here. I wouldn't crush it, but I was like, really? That's all you got for this? I thought they came up a pick light.
Yeah. Don't like the Raiders. I'm just not a big fan of taking a running back, especially in the top 10. Ashton Genty, he better be a superstar. I love the kid, but it's one thing running over defensive backs and linebackers from San Jose State, Hawaii, and Utah State from the Mountain West than it is the NFL. He's not very big. He's small. Kind of reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew, who obviously was a very good running back, but he's built like that. And again, when you're running over a bunch of nobodies who weigh 200 pounds, and now you're being asked to run over guys that weigh 260 pounds. I don't know if I'm using this 6th overall pick. The Raiders are so bad. They need so much. I'm a good, get a running back in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round because I think these guys all basically are a dime a dozen. He better turn out to be a stud. Otherwise, I don't like what the Raiders did.
Agreed. And by the way, this is for any running back that's taken top 10. They better be great. They better be great. Doesn't matter what team you're on. You better be great. I think Genty could be. As a Cowboy fan, yeah, I knew he wasn't getting the 12, but I would have liked him if a Dallas at 12. I would have. But the other problem with the Raiders, by the way, now you sort of already said it. Scott, he better be his own blocker because their offensive line is not good. All right, he better be his own blocker. He's going to have to run over those guys because they're going to be right there waiting to tackle him. So they're a work in progress. All right, you got Bowers, you got I guess theoretically you got Geno Smith, you got Genty now. So they're building something there. I just find it, for Pete Carroll, I guess he wants the guy who can play now, and Genty can play now. He can't wait for alignment to develop in a couple of years. So that maybe that's a part of it as well. I wouldn't have taken him at 6. I wouldn't have, but I like the player. I do like the player. I just wouldn't have taken him at 6.
Mm-hmm. Chicago Bears. They have a choice of the best wide receiver and the best tight end. They don't take the wide receiver, and they take which was on most people's 2nd pick for tight end, Colston Loveland out of Michigan over Penn State's Tyler Warren. Hate the pick. I know you just brought in an offensive head coach. I get that, but you got a real good tight end already, Cole Kmet. Do you really need another tight end? Poor what's-his-face, Caleb Williams was running for his life. I know they did a lot of moves this offseason to bolster the offensive line, so I didn't expect that. But I'm not a big tight end guy. I mean, how many tight ends right now in the NFL are worthy of being a first-round pick? 3, maybe 4? To think that you hit the 5th one with this pick, I'm not doing it. And if I was going to take a tight end, I would have taken Warren out of Penn State versus Loveland out of Michigan.
We knew they were going to take an offensive player, right? We knew that. And as far as the great offensive players, I mean, McMillan was gone, right? He was a surprise pick by Carolina at 8.
Right.
All right. So he was gone. I mean, I would have taken Golden this. That's probably too low for him, for Golden. So you're not taking him. So your choice was sort of limited. It sort of came down to a tight end. I sort of agree. Cole Kmet's a solid tight end. He's not what I think Loveland is going to be, but he's a solid. And yeah, you have Kmet signed for 3 more years. Granted, I think only one is guaranteed money this year. Then I guess you're going to move on from him. I think this was a pick of BPA more than anything else. He was the best player on their board. We can argue Warren and Loveland. I have Warren higher as well, so I was surprised Loveland went above him. But we'll see. Maybe he's going to work out in Johnson's system more than Warren will. So I don't mind it. Probably not where I would have gone here, but I think they wanted Genty or McMillan, and they were surprised that one of those two wasn't there at 10.
I'll combine these two because it's the same scenario for me. That's New Orleans and Pittsburgh. We touched on it at the top of the show. Both those teams had the pick of the litter outside of Cam Ward, whether it was going to be Dart or Shuck out of Louisville or obviously Shedeur Sanders, and both passed. And Houston, New Orleans is really desperate for a quarterback. Unless they're just going to go into this season with Spencer Rattler again, which, maybe maybe they saw enough out of him that they said, okay, Derek Carr's going to miss quite a bit, so we're going to go with Spencer again. Kind of weird. We'll talk more about that and see where some of these guys will be going today or later on tonight. Football Full Circle.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves. Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the grid. Final segment, boy, flying by today. Me and George breaking down the NFL with some of the winners, some of the losers, and recapping what happened last night. We'll preview here in a sec later on tonight. But you mentioned Dallas before. You're a Cowboys fan. I'll throw my Dolphins out there real quick. Then you talk about your Dolphins or your Cowboys. I was saying before the draft, just take somebody that's not from North Dakota State, and I see my son's favorite team, Seattle. took a player from North Dakota State. So it's like, thank goodness it was him and not me. They have so many needs, the Dolphins. Is this guy Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, is he worth anything? I don't know. They have so many. Listen, they could have taken a wide receiver because I do think they want to move on from Tyreek Hill. That's what I was hoping they were going to do. The secondary is banged up a little bit. They clearly want to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. So they end up taking a big fat guy that you're going to put in the middle, defensive tackle. Man, I hate that position. That is by far for me the worst position. Just go get some country bumpkin that weighs 300 pounds and say, put him in a football uniform and say, stand there, because that's all defensive tackles do. You look them up. They get literally 15, 20, maybe 25 tackles a year. Their job is to just stand there and be fat and just take up 2 blockers. That's it. So you want to spend a first-round draft choice on that? Let's hope it pans out. What about your Cowboys?
I mean, with the Cowboys, you took Tyler Booker. Okay, offensive line was an area of need. All right, he's pretty much going to be the replacement for Zach Martin. He won't be Zach Martin. Nobody is. My problem was with, don't you want to trade down if you're going to take a player like this? I think Dallas got screwed. I think they wanted McMillan. I think he would have been their pick, but he went 8 to Carolina. Genty was never going to get to them. They would have taken him as well. So they took I guess the next player on their board, or maybe it was too early for Golden. It's not a sexy pick. It's not an exciting pick, but I just don't know if you take a guard at 12, Scott. I mean, right. You'd like to wait. Now, when I say trade down, by the way, trading down is easy. Trade down. I don't know what the other offers were. If there were any other offers, maybe there's nothing there. I think what annoys me more is that Jerry Jones told you on Wednesday. He had a press conference. Shocking, I know. He had a press conference. And he said, well, we built the line before, and I know this is 3 of the last 4 drafts. They've taken an offensive lineman. It is what it is. But, Scott, I can't say this enough. The Cowboys will never win again until Jerry Jones is done with the team. All right, they're not going to win under Jerry. That's very obvious. Well, another thing he said in the press conference, we're working on 2 big things. That's all BS. He is P.T. Barnum. That's all he is. He'll say whatever it says to get you to pay attention to the Cowboys. That's all this is here. And if you don't know it by now, I don't know what to tell you here. Cowboys, I'll always be a fan. All right, you're never going to see me not be a fan of the Cowboys. It's just ingrained in me. But to tell you they're going anywhere, no, they're not. They're run pretty poorly. Probably the top 10 worst team running football, and they do what they do. We'll see. I think I would be shocked in the second round today if they do not take a skill position player, whether it be the running back or the wide receiver.
No way in the world he takes Sanders, right? I mean, just knowing with Deion, former Cowboy. Now, Deion played for a few teams, but still.
I got to tell you, if Sanders ends up being there at 12, Jerry might be hitting himself for not hiring Deion. Get Deion and Shador there. If Dallas picks 44, if Sanders ends up being there at 44, Jerry might be, because Jerry would love this. To have Deion as the coach, even though he'd be a terrible NFL coach, and Sanders as the quarterback. What do you do with Dak? You cannot trade. For everybody who thinks Dak's going to be traded, you cannot trade that contract yet. Dallas would have like $300 billion in salary cap. Not they would. They can't do it this year. Really, not next year. So then listen. The BPA would tell you Sanders at 44 probably is the guy, but no, I don't think the Cowboys would do that.
The NFL would absolutely love that. To have Deion and Shador, you talk about making Dallas, prevalent again and just, having a buzz around the end. Oh, they would be salivating for that to occur. I wonder, I wonder if they knew Sanders would have been available for them, would they have gone that route? Probably not, but still kind of interesting. All right, so who does? Ultimately, in your eye, who takes Sanders? Does he go today? I mean, with 2 rounds today, he's got to go today, right? By who?
If I could bet on it, and we can't, living in New York, we can't bet on these things. Cleveland. I think Cleveland won, and if not, Cleveland has 2 picks. They can't pass on them both times. They can't do it. If not Cleveland, then he's got to go to New Orleans, where they have the 40th pick. So either 33, 36 to Cleveland or 40 to New Orleans. Said it earlier, Pittsburgh doesn't have a pick today. Don't see how they can do it unless they're giving up a number 1 next year. Yeah.
I just, like I said, I find it interesting that a team would take him in the 2nd round, but not the 1st, if they really, really liked him and they really need him. 4th, 5th, 6th round, okay, you take a flyer, but 2nd round? Well, it wouldn't surprise me if he fell out of the 2nd round as well. So, George, great job as always. We'll do it again soon, I'm sure. Folks, enjoy the rest of the NFL draft. We'll talk to you soon.
You've found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.